Hello and welcome to the Empowered Expat Wife podcast. If you moved abroad following your significant other and are looking to create a fulfilled life on your terms there, this is the place to be. I'm your host Camilla Quintana and I'm so excited to be on this journey with you and to inspire you to create the kind of life abroad you truly deserve. Hello ladies, we're going to tackle the topic of confidence today. What it is, why it's so important, why expat wives often notice their confidence decreases in their life abroad, and what you can do about that. And by the way, stay until the end because I had a fun idea. I figured an episode about confidence calls for a manifestation of my own confidence. So I'll be playing some of my music to you. I'm sure many of you remembered that growing up, I really wanted to become a singer and I recorded a Spanish salsa album in my early 20s. So yeah, I'm gonna play a song to you in the end, so stay tuned. But first, let me quickly tell you where my head's been at in the past few weeks. I have felt like a nutty professor. I was just in my head a lot. I was really I felt like, you know, when they say you're doing things on autopilot, where you drive somewhere and you don't even know how you got there. That is what happened to me in the past few weeks because I was just having so many thoughts. I was processing so many things. Our dining table, which is where I kind of like to work because I have all the space, was covered in books. And my husband was like, please put this away. Like, I can't see this anymore. I really took a deep dive into my favorite topic, which is finding meaning and purpose and self-actualization as an expat partner, as a woman who moved abroad following her partner. It's a topic that just fascinates me to no end, and it's the most common pain point I've noticed my clients are facing, sometimes consciously so, and they come in for coaching on that very topic, and other times it's more covert. It shows up in their relationship and their self-esteem and their mental well-being overall. But what I realized is that a lack of this deep, rich sense of meaning is at the root of a lot of our problems, even when we think they're about something completely different. And I've been there too, you know. I felt really lost in my life, not knowing what to do, what my purpose was. I always had lots of interests and talents and ideas, but I had no plan whatsoever. And so I ended up in a job that was perfect on paper, but where I was actually just killing time. Then I became an expat wife, and that brought this pain in me of not knowing what my purpose was to a whole nother level. I always had this fire in me to do something, and I just did not know what this fire was burning for until I cracked the code. I cracked the code for finding meaning in my life, the type of meaning that has, first of all, rid me of so many problems I had before, the kind that makes me love Monday mornings, and the type that gives me energy, infinite energy. Well, not infinite, I will say, but a lot of energy, and people call me out on that, to pursue my calling despite lockdowns, despite having 3 kids and a baby, despite lacking a support system abroad, and so forth. So my aim now is to create the formula, the shortcut for other expat partners to achieve the same. Because it literally pains me to see so many women in the position that I was in before, that I know so well, and knowing that all they need is a roadmap to really tap into their potential and to uncover their soul's calling, because we all have that, and to have someone who believes in them and who can help them to go after it. And This is also really important. I am not focused on finding a job or starting a business as an expat partner. This may be how you choose to manifest your soul's calling, but it does not have to be. I focus on finding such a richness within, such a strong sense of meaning and purpose and drive, and show you how to live it. So I've been buried in literature. I've assessed my own journey, which has given me some really great pointers of where I went right and where I went wrong, so to speak. I've assessed my clients' journeys, and let me tell you, what I've developed so far is so beautiful. It is so exciting. I cannot wait to share it with you all. I feel like I've put my heart and soul into this, and what has come out is beyond words. As I said, I cannot wait to share it with you. And my plan is actually to dedicate much of season 2 of this podcast to this particular topic of meaning, purpose, and self-actualization as an expat partner. And it will be awesome. All right, so why am I telling you all of this? Apart from the fact that I'm just super excited and I needed to share, but also as a last phase in my research, I am interviewing other expat wives on this topic of meaning, purpose, self-actualization abroad. And what I'm interested in is to hear your take on it, your particular experience and your perspective. I want to learn from you all, and no matter where you live or whether you've even already returned back home, no matter your age, your circumstances, whether you can say, I live a fulfilled life, or you say, I totally do not, it doesn't matter. I would really appreciate it and value it if you could take 20 to 30 minutes of your time and hop on a Zoom call with me and just allow me to ask you a couple of questions. Anything you say will be totally confidential and only be used for my own research. And if you are interested, if you are willing, I'm so very grateful, and you can book an appointment via the link that I'll post in the session notes, or you can just email me at info@camillaquintana.com. You can bring your coffee, you can bring a glass of wine, you can bring your baby, your pets. It's just a laid-back conversation between two expat women, between you and me. There are no right or wrong answers at all. It's really just about, it's learning from your experience and your take on this subject. All right, so now let's get back to this episode and to the topic of the day, which is confidence. A move abroad can be a real hit on our self-confidence. And how wouldn't it be? I mean, after all, we are starting over from scratch in a new environment, in a different culture, a different language, there are different rules. We have to make new friends. Oftentimes, our career is on the back burner, or you might not be working at all anymore. And so, who are you really when everything you knew and everything that made you you is stripped away? And if you don't really know that anymore, how will others? Will they care and will they value what you bring to the table? You start comparing yourself to your friends back home who are so settled and pursuing their solid path, and to other women abroad who seem to have it all together, to be doing so much more than you, doing it much better than you do it. And of course, there's your partner. Let me know if that resonates. Off to work he goes in the morning, making money, collecting wins and accomplishments, taken part in exciting conversations about investment strategies and the economy, networking with important and inspiring people. I mean, his career is so important that it's the decisive factor of where you're living right now and where you'll be relocated to in the future. His career is taking care of the house you live in, the school your kids go to, possibly the money in your bank account, or a big chunk of it at least. And even if he never mentions that to you, or he never brings it up against you in an argument, even if he's sincerely grateful for you for having us back and for making this international life possible, for taking care of the kids if you have them, that nagging feeling is there, right? And it can lead to resentment, to jealousy, and to guilt for feeling that way. And maybe just hearing me mentioning those feelings like resentment and jealousy gives you a little bit of the chills, because you're trying so hard not to go there, not to look there. But hey, dear, you're so far from alone. Your story is the story of so many, let me tell you. And not because you're not unique and really special the way you are, but because as expat wives and partners, you face specific challenges. And one of the most pressing aspects about these challenges that I encounter is a decreased self-confidence. You know, our confidence is a decisive factor in our mental well-being, in the way we view ourselves and others, and the situations we deal with, and in our ability to cope with them. It's also a determining factor in our successes, in our accomplishments. Guess what? Studies have shown that confidence is more decisive than skill alone. I'm reading this fascinating book right now by Katty Kay and Claire Shipman. It's called The Confidence Code. And I'm not even finished with it yet, but I just immediately knew I needed to do an episode on this, because I know from my clients that a lack of confidence is a central theme, and especially among expat wives, right? So in The Confidence Code, they talk about the confidence cousins, which are traits that favorably affect our confidence level. And they are a good self-esteem, which is basically your self-worth, the way you relate to and view yourself. Then optimism, which, by the way, is something that can be learned and trained. Then self-compassion, because when things don't go as planned, how we react inside of ourselves will determine whether we'll try again, whether we'll get on with life, or whether we'll beat ourselves up over it and consequently grow less confident in ourselves. And let me tell you that I have a free guide in my free resources section. It's a beautiful fillable PDF with lots of exercises to improve your well-being by growing more optimistic and self-compassionate and more resilient in the long term. There are proven exercises from the fields of positive psychology, of mindful self-compassion, as well as others. And of course, always put into the context of the expat woman. So if you don't already have that one, make sure to grab it. It's free of charge and you'll get a lot of value from it. You can find it at camillaquintana.com/free resources. And then the fourth cousin of confidence is self-efficacy. And in this episode, I want to especially focus on this one. Self-efficacy is about doing, taking action before you're ready or even when you're not ready. Doing it anyway, taking risks, and trying again even when it didn't work out. Self-efficacy is probably where we face the biggest clash when we move abroad. Because all of a sudden, we're so far outside of our comfort zone. There are so many things we don't have control over anymore. We're operating in a different culture and language. And in some countries, our rights as accompanying partner are actually diminished. Like, you may not be allowed to work or to have a bank account in your name. So, of course, all of these things will affect your level and your perception of how self-efficient you are. And I specialized on the phenomenon of bore out in expat wives. I recorded an episode about that previously. It's episode 5 if you want to check it out. And I also wrote an article about it for Global Living magazine. It's something that many expat wives, including myself, have experienced. That chronic intellectual underwhelm, that lack of purpose and direction, lack of meaningful activities to fill their days with, lack of close friendships too. And in my research about bore out, I cited the self-worth theory, which states that it's an innate human need to be seen as capable, competent, and able by ourselves and others. You see where I'm going with this, right? And how this leads us back to self-efficacy. If we do not see ourselves as capable and competent and able, and if we don't get feedback from the outside to make us feel like we actually are, and as a matter of fact, we all know this, many expat and diplomatic partners are often sort of reduced to their husband's careers, or it's assumed that they're not as interesting or as important as their partners are. By some at least. I mean, I obviously beg to differ. Expat women are amazing, and I'm not just saying that. I am meeting so many and I've worked with so many up close, and they were all extraordinary women with lots to offer, even when they couldn't see it. But anyway, that's just a little side note. What I'm saying is that if we stop seeing ourselves and feeling that we are capable, and we're possibly even faced with certain quote unquote proof on the outside that we aren't, because life abroad can get messy and not everything will always go as planned. Rather, it will most probably not all go as planned. This will inevitably affect our self-esteem and our confidence. A lack of confidence leads to inaction. But action is needed to grow more confident. This was another finding of the authors of the book, The Confidence Code, which is such a great read. So I really recommend you to read it. So how can we achieve this? How can we become more confident in our expat life? So many ways. Let me share a few. First, instead of focusing in your head on all the things you could not do or not as well as you would have liked to do them, create a list of accomplishments. And in that list, I want you to be totally boastful and shameless. It's just for your eyes to see anyway. Or you can send it to me. Feel free to do so I can cheer you on. Write out every little thing you can think of where you've accomplished something. And I'm going to go even further. I want you to make a list of 50 accomplishments that you've had in the past year. Because otherwise, I know it's so easy to give up at 10, and that just won't do much for you, right? Keep writing. You'll go through a phase of listing some seemingly ridiculous things before you'll find some more major ones. And they're all relevant, the big ones and the small ones. But often we just need to direct our focus on what is working, on what we have achieved, on what we are capable of doing, because it's so easy to forget. Number 2 is to surround yourself with people and engage in activities that bring out your confidence. I used to have a friend, and I don't know why, this is like the story that I'm thinking about right now. We'd sometimes ride in the car together. Now, mind you, she was actually a bit of a pain, and she'd always criticize my driving, which I never had any issues with. But she'd always find something that I did wrong, or she questions the routes I took. There was something about her that made me so nervous when I was in the car with her that I started driving badly. And I started feeling really insecure, not because I thought I was a bad driver, but because she made me question myself, or she possibly made me want to prove myself, right? Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you been in a situation like this too? Maybe you start feeling this way with the super mom at school that has twice as many children as you, and she's on every board. She knows everything and everyone. She bakes the best cakes, and she kind of judges anyone who does less. Or maybe you start feeling that way with other expat women who were able to maintain their careers, who started a thriving business or whatever it is, who just seem to be so accomplished in their professional lives. You may also start feeling kind of weakened and less confident when you spend too much time around the naggers, the complainers. There will always be that group of women who just love to focus on everything that's not right. And that will make you see everything in a more negative light, and also make you feel like you don't have any power and that you probably couldn't change anything anyway. So it's so important to surround yourself with people who actually uplift you and make you feel good and make you feel more confident about yourself. Likewise, if there is an activity that you're good at, do more of that. Are you a great golfer or a tennis player? Head to the court. Are you good at languages? Look for ways to use your languages in your day-to-day life. Give classes, take courses, translate, whatever it takes, right? And then in the evening, I want you to give yourself a pat on the back. Don't wait for anyone else to do so, because others aren't you. They don't necessarily know what it takes to do what you've done. Even with your spouse, I've gotten to a point where instead of wanting my husband to praise me, I'll tell him flat out, oh, I'm so proud of myself for doing this or that. And that feels really good. So surrounding ourselves with uplifting people, which is always important, goes even further. It's about being that uplifting person for ourselves. Then number 3, another thing I want to talk about is choosing baby steps over quantum leaps. Listen, if you ever feel called to do a huge endeavor, by all means do it. But only if you are 100% committed to it. If you're not, and I mentioned this in my last episode about weight gain and people pleasing in expat wives, if you're only half committed and then fail, you'll not only feel bad for not achieving your goal, you'll also feel defeated, because rationally you'll be like, well, I've tried, but I didn't make it. So this will make you feel really powerless. And feeling powerless kills any confidence. So whether it's about losing 5 pounds or easing your way back into the job market, baby steps will get you there more often than not. Because when you fully commit to achievable little goals day after day, you'll be able to do them more easily. You'll get your sense of accomplishment. You'll feel more capable as a consequence, and that will motivate you to keep going. And like we know now, taking action and feeling like you've accomplished things is vital for your self-confidence. And then number 4, another thing I want to address is to simplify your life. There is this term out there I really like called decision fatigue. So many choices and no idea which way to go. Interestingly, this often happens with the smallest things. What to order at a restaurant, which outfit to wear, which again is a sign that you're lacking confidence and clarity. So the antidote here is to eliminate options, simplifying your life so that you don't waste precious energy and time making decisions and second-guessing yourself and questioning yourself and going back and forth, which again will make you feel incapable and insecure. And we take decisions daily. We take hundreds of little decisions daily and a few big ones as well. So the way I would go about this is starting by really getting clear on what your values are, what your goals are, and your priorities in life in different areas of your life. For instance, And I'll give you a rather silly example, okay? Because I think it just visualizes really well what I'm trying to explain, and you can then apply it to all of the areas of your life where you're encountering this. Before you go to a restaurant, get clear on what you want out of that meal. Do you want to eat healthy? Then decide upfront to opt for the vegetarian dish or the fish, for instance, and to skip dessert. Okay? Do you want to savor some typical local cuisine? Then opt for one of the most typical or most popular dishes on the menu. See, you've just eliminated many possible choices to make your life easier. And this will help you to take firmer decisions. Or if you spend lots of time picking out your clothes, put some stuff away and leave only a few options for outfits that truly represent your style. Listen, this may sound more trivial, right? But it's actually not, because decision making, like I said, is something we do all day, every day. And the more assertive we can be in all of the decisions, the more confident we'll grow. The same holds true for parenting, for your relationship, your social context, your network, how you spend your free time. Get clear on what really, really matters to you in these areas. What is your ultimate goal? What are your guiding principles and values? Write all of that out and see how you are reducing your choices. And you can really let those principles and values and priorities guide your decisions and make small and big decisions much easier. And now I'd love to hear from you. Has your confidence been diminished ever since you moved abroad? What's your experience in this regard? Let me know. Send me an email at info@camillaquintana.com or a message on Instagram or Facebook, where you can find me at coach.camillaquintana. Or you could tell me over virtual coffee if you'd like to sign up for the Expat Wife interview series that I told you about that I'm currently conducting. I'll put the link to my scheduling page in the session notes at camillaquintana.com/podcast/episode 34. And I would love to be able to hear your take on things. It's totally confidential, of course, and it would be awesome to get to know each other. So I wish you all a confident week ahead, and I look forward to being back in your earpods next Thursday. But before we go, as promised, here is Lección Aprendida by me and my super talented uncle who wrote the music. I wrote the lyrics, he wrote the music, took care of the arrangement, and was like the mastermind in this cool project that I had so much fun recording. So here it goes, and I hope you enjoy.
Así que te dijo, hoy saco la basura yo. Salió por esa puerta y nunca más volvió. La vecina contó que la vio con tu amigo, acarameladitos sentados en tu coche nuevo, y arrancaron rumbo a un destino desconocido. Así que te engañó, te subió al cielo, pero al día siguiente no vino y no llamó. Durante un mes esperaste junto al teléfono, con los ojos hinchaditos de tanto lamento. Verás que fue la última vez que él de ti se abusó. Es una lección aprendida, una dura experiencia, y aunque duele darte cuenta, es que ya no caes más. Una lección aprendida, son cosas de la vida, pero la buena noticia es que ya no caes más. Así que se burló, pagaste una fortuna por esa moto una lección aprendida, una dura experiencia. Y aunque duele darte cuenta, es que ya no caes más. Una lección aprendida, son cosas de la vida. Pero la buena noticia es que ya no caes más. A mí también me pasó, me fié de alguien equivocado, pero de cada humillación salí más fuerte, te lo digo yo, te lo digo. ¿Qué cosas te da la vida? Tú no las esperas, pero la buena noticia es que ya no caes más. De árbol caído hasta en leña, así que sube la cabeza, no les des la oportunidad de pisarte nunca más. Oye, mira, ¿qué cosas te da la vida? Tú no las esperas, pero la buena noticia es que ya no caes más. Ay, ay, qué cosas te da la vida, sin ni siquiera avisar. Me ha cerrado tantas puertas, por una ventana me logré escapar. ¿Qué cosas te da la vida? ¿Qué cosas te da la vida? Pero la buena noticia es que ya no caes más. Óyeme, traicionero, tramposo, mentiroso, no te metas conmigo porque yo soy Catela. Es que ya no caes más. Es que ya no caes más. A veces hay que caer y si no duele no vas a aprender. No te dejes machacar, sigue pa'lante sin mirar atrás. Sigue pa'lante sin mirar atrás. Sigue pa'lante sin mirar atrás.
Thank you so much for listening. Please make sure to share this episode with your expat besties and show me some love in the reviews. Want more juicy content designed for expat wives? Then head over to my website www.camilaquintana.com or follow me on Instagram and Facebook at coach.camilaquintana.